Hello, I'm Lee Sanders. Probably like you, I'm currently sheltered in place and learning to best live the COVID-19 experience. Although my daily routines continue to change, I still talk with lots of people who love high school sports. We wanted to share some of these conversations in order to build community, focus on high school sports topics of interest to officials and others, connect our coaches and officials, and chat with talented Louisianians who are passionate supporters of our officiating community. Thanks for listening to The Right Call. We hope you enjoy today's discussion. Today we're going to talk with Kevin Boitmann, a longtime LHSOA member and current center judge in the Southeastern Conference. Kevin, thanks for making some time to speak with us this afternoon. How you doing?
Doing well. How's everybody doing today?
Everybody's safe and sound, man. How about on your end?
No problems here so far. Just getting used to things.
I hear you. Well, listen, Kevin, I would like for you to take a second, introduce yourself kind of professionally, where you are in life, and then also give me your officiating story, starting with your involvement, past and present, with high school officiating, but then some things that you've been able to work beyond that.
Sure. Well, I guess in my real life, when I'm not an official, I'm an assistant United States attorney down in New Orleans, and I've been an attorney since 1999, so that takes care of the day job. The more fun thing, among other things that I do, has been officiating. I've been an official since 1992. I think my junior year of college, I joined the Greater New Orleans Football Officials Association. And it's been a lot of fun ever since. I've had the chance to have some really great opportunities, meet some great people and lifelong friends through that process. I've been fortunate enough to go up to the college ranks as well. I've been in a college official since 2011, working in the Gulf South, the SIAC, the SWAC, the Southland, and the Mountain West Conference for several years as a referee. And recently, I just completed my first year as a center judge in the SEC. It's just been a great ride and a lot of fun.
So, Kevin, I want to talk about your role and your leadership in helping the state implement instant replay. So last spring, the National Federation allowed state associations on an individual basis the opportunity to adopt and implement instant replay. And so the LHSOA, through a committee structure, began the process of investigating the use of instant replay for state championship games. So could you kind of detail what went on through some committee structure during the spring and the summer that led us really to the start of football in August?
Sure. As you said, the LHSOA, when they put the committee structure together, several things were involved, including a chance to, as always, look over mechanics, look over rules, philosophies, testing our recruitment and training methods, and getting people around the state to help implement that to get ready for the next season. One of the other committees, especially the one we're talking about now, dealt with the possibility of using instant replay in high school. We had never done that in this state. Only a few states had experimented with it over the past few years, so we put a committee together to start seeing how could this process work in Louisiana and what would be the best way to do it if we wanted to actually go ahead and implement it. But right away, our state is fortunate enough to have several officials working at the college and professional level, and many of them are involved in the replay process. So right away, we put a committee together, including some of those people, including someone like Buddy Gingras, who is the assignment secretary for Alexandria, and he is a replay official in the Big 12. Jamie Grant, who is a replay official in the Sun Belt as well, and has been a longtime supporter of high school official and training and supervising of officials in Louisiana. And also Elton James, who was an assistant replay official in the NFL for a couple of seasons. So some of those people were on the call and part of the committee with the question of, if we do this, what is the best way to do it? How can we implement it? And what should we look at? There are several ways to do replay. You could take it by just having a video camera, by different support groups, or different support platforms. And part of the committee was, which one should we go with? Buddy and Jamie on the college level were most used to DV Sports, so we had conversations with that organization because that organization had actually assisted with high school replay in some of the states that had implemented it. So those were some of the things we were looking at, and then seeing just what would we want to do if it was used? What kind of plays would we look at? What kind of structure would it be? Knowing full well that this is something that the teams had not been used to, the players and the coaches would not be used to it, but also the field officials would not be used to it. This is not something that they've ever been trained in, and not something that you would have a lot of time to train in, considering that the National Federation only allowed this to be used for the playoffs and the state championship situation. So those were some of the things that we took into account when meeting in the committee and getting just some really good thoughts, really good communication from everybody involved at those levels. It really became clear that most of us felt the best thing to do was try to imitate the NCAA and put into practice as much as possible the NCAA's replay rules and regulations. And for the most part, replay was there in that situation to take care of the black and white calls. The mistakes that are made that are very easy to see as they're black and white, and they don't involve judgment. Because generally the replay official is not there to put his own judgment in play on top of the judgment of the official. The replay is there to look at the video, analyze the video, and see if there's clearly and indisputably a factual black and white error that occurred. And that was the discussion that we thought would be best going into this the first year of replay in Louisiana high school. Let's find the things that we want to adjust, the non-judgment play situations, the non-judgmental errors that replay can get into and help. Basically, we wanted to try to avoid getting involved in any judgment call.
Determining what kinds of plays should be reviewed was an important step. So scoring or potential scoring plays, changes of possession or potential changes of possession, dead ball spot involving a first down or potential first down, touching of kicks and catcher incomplete pass, plays involving sidelines and inline. So briefly kind of discuss why these were the plays that we determined should be reviewable.
Well, basically, those are the type of plays that are going to be most critical in a game and in competitive situations. Let's start with the goal line. Obviously, putting 6 points on the board is the most important thing you're going to look at. And it's a black and white question for the most part. There's no judgment really involved. Did the ball in player possession break the goal line plane or not? Now, those are things just because of the speed of the game and sometimes the angles you have and location of other players. It's not always the easiest thing to see on the field, even when an official is in perfect position. The video cameras and the video replay exist to help in that situation because it's not a judgment call. The same thing with the sidelines and the end lines. Those are things that don't change. Either the ball is touching the sideline or it's not. A player is touching the sideline or it's not. The catch. Some people can say, well, there's a little judgment involved in that. And that gets to a little point. There's some truth to that. But in essence, you either caught the ball in bounds and possessed it or you didn't. The ball either hit the ground or it didn't. You either caught the ball and made a football move with it or you didn't. And when you look at different types of plays, if you think a critical first down, a critical reception, a ball just breaking the plane for the go-ahead score, those are the things we want to help make sure that we can get right. And remember, replay doesn't exist because there's a fear that the officials on the field are not good enough to see these things. The officials in the field train, they work hard, they follow their mechanics to be in position to make all of these calls. The nature of the game and the speed of the game and the position of players such that no two plays present themselves the exact same, there's always the possibility that something is just prevents us from getting that, whether we take our eyes off it momentarily or something blocks the way, or we just see something that in our mind we process, it's just not what it happened.
Officiating is tough stuff, isn't it, Kevin?
It is. And that's why.
And when you're watching something in instant replay at 1/16 or 1/8 a frame at a time, as opposed to watching it in real time, it's a very complex dynamic that's not fully appreciated, I think, until you've thought about it from that perspective, that the game is officiated at a real-time pace, but it can be reviewed a little bit differently.
Right. And field officials, while making those real-time calls, it's never just one thing. In one play, a field official in real time is going to be making multiple decisions throughout the down, including possession, knee, location of the ball when down. And they have a very short time to make a decision on that. And so they officiate the play, as you said, in real time. Replay has the benefit of analyzing the video, going back and forth, and taking the time to make sure it's catching what the human eye may not catch. And that's the balance of the replay officials and the field officials working together to come out to the common goal of making sure we get the plays right.
So let's go back to the reviewable plays. In addition to the list that we just itemized that could be stopped by the RO, the replay official, or the head coach, there was an additional list of plays that the replay official could stop the game to review, such as correcting a down during a series, clock adjustments involving expiration of time at the conclusion of a quarter, more than 11 players fully participating during a down, and other egregious errors. So the replay officials had opportunities to make those stoppages as well.
Right. And that's all the things that the replay official and the communicator in the booth are there to look for. You know, they're not looking just at the video screen itself. They're very well aware of what's going on in real time, too. And if they see a major error, and the errors you just described are ones nobody wants to have in a game, a fifth down, 12 players on the field, these are the extra set of eyes for the people in the booth to help the field officials and really just to help the players and the coaches and the teams in the game so that type of error ultimately will not affect the game itself.
So, Kevin, let's look at some replay data here. Did the number of reviews that we had, the number of stoppages, we had 11 in the 6 championship games. Does that number surprise you? Does that seem in line with expectations, or did you have expectations?
It didn't surprise me in the fact that we had 11. I actually think that was pretty good. It's an average of less than 2 a game. I know there was one game I think we had 4 just because that was the type
Correct.
of game.
In the 4A game we had 4, the 5A game we had 3, the AAA game we had 2, the single A and double 1, in the Division 4 game, no reviews. So that was 11 total reviews, like you said, at an average of less than 2 per game, which did put us in line with other state association data.
And I think that makes sense. I think if you take a look, especially at the 4A and the 5A games, you're looking there at, my memory, probably the 2 most competitive games from a score standpoint that we had in the entire championship series. So it makes more sense that you would have more stops in those plays because throughout the game, the situations were more competitive than they would be, say, in a game that's a 30 or 40 point margin, in which even if there's a mistake, it doesn't really matter as much, so replay is not going to get involved.
So, Kevin, we had 11 total reviews during state championship games, and the average time was 1 minute, 59 seconds. How does that time strike you?
That time's pretty good. I think the best time, the shorter time we're actually stopping the game, the look, the better. That was an average. I think we were trying to hope and stay under 2 minutes. But when you look at our 11 stops taking 1 minute 59 seconds over 6 games, it's a good sign that replay did not add some unnecessarily long time to the games that were played. And I think that's a sign that the replay system was working pretty well to get things done as quickly as possible. Could it be better? Could it be quicker and more efficient? Sure, and that's something that can be worked on coming up. But I think overall, averaging 1 minute 59 seconds for the first time in use is pretty good.
Absolutely. So of the 11 reviews, 9 were initiated from the booth, 2 by teams. We had 4 plays confirmed, 6 that were reversed, and 1 that led to a spot change. So again, I really echo what Kevin says here about the goal was to go in as little as possible and to only get big elephants, not ants, right, Kevin?
Exactly.
Black and white with 100% accuracy, because if replay makes a ruling, we're telling everybody we know we got this right and came in at a critical moment to do what was best for a state championship game, because that's how we officiate in our state.
Absolutely. And that's in big part, like you said, getting the elephants, getting the things that are competitive. Replay is part of the crew, not the focus of the crew. And the replay is there to aid the game. But the ruling in the field is always presumed correct. And the work that the field officials do in all these games and the training is outstanding. And I think the fact that we did have so few reviews and so few reversals when you look at over 6 games says a lot about that.
Stay tuned for more calls in this series on instant replay. Thanks for listening.